Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer, also trained in interspecies communication. I'm aligned with my mission, which is to bring extra information from the other dimensions, which is have always existed and have that information has always been there, but we have not honored it in modern life, and it has left us limping in terms of spirituality, the ascension process, what to do in times of chaos, and how to align with the energies that will support you. So I guess I'm going to get into the map earlier than I thought. But you know what? Let's wait a minute because I would like for there to be more participation, waiting a few minutes for others to show up. Let's go into metaphysical gossip. I was going through some notes looking for something, and I found that there was a note there that I wrote. The human mind is a wonderful thing, it's also very treacherous. I think, from what I'm reading in my own note, that Adam Schiff was my control and the control of my handler, whose name I cannot say because his daughter is a lawyer, and maybe she didn't know who her father is, but she basically threatened my children when I asked her twice for help in getting her father off of me. So Adam Schiff is still hanging around in the other dimensions around me. He's not close. He doesn't appear to be aggressively trying to enter my energy field or my energy bodies. I'm not exactly sure what it is that's going on. Um, I don't know if he's competing with my handler for space in my aura to where he can use my physical body as a vehicle to continue to function on the physical dimension, at which time all my intentions would change. They would be his intentions. I don't think that's happening because I've worked on it extensively, and I will continue working on aligning with my intentions, aligning with myself, and not letting my fears have portals open, which we all have, that would allow either Adam Schiff or this other man whose name is not, we're not able to mention, um, to make sure that they can't come in. So let's go ahead and get into the map because it has me very happy. And this is what the United States looks like today. Heart, great. Protection, the Merkaba, which is the talisman of David, which is 6,000 years old as a symbol. In Judaism, they chose it as a symbol 2,000 years ago, but it was around 6,000 years ago. Excuse me, having to do with my nails, but I'm not able to leave my home in order to have my manicure and pedicure done. Um, yeah, I know. I should just simply take the nail polish off, which I will do. That I can do. So then we have the spiraling counterclockwise green, which is the color of heart and it's the color of healing. Counterclockwise is grounding. So we're talking about a lot of grounding, heavy duty process of grounding, heavy duty protection, heavy duty heart. Okay. And at the bottom, which I always get something, some information, the world is in shock at Trump's audacity to challenge the world order. That makes sense. But look at this. We are in Revelations. So, what did religions teach us about Revelations? They gave us images of the apocalypse. Apocalypse means to reveal, unveil. Same thing. Revelations, apocalypse, same thing. Oh my God, Revelations. But what does it really mean? The veils are lifting. Okay, so you can see all these bad spirits and the devil. Well, what veils are lifting for us here? A lot of people are seeing spirits. It's augmenting dramatically. What we're seeing is the dark side of everybody, including ourselves. And that's what the Mayans talked about, that the real problem at the end, which is now, is that people would start, their sub personalities would come up No more walls between dimensions having to do with the underworld and hell within ourselves, conscious, subconscious, and that we would be so shocked and so ashamed that we would end up in the chaos that is those images of revelations. So, what do we have happening here in this country? We have revelations having to do with Elon Musk going in and revealing what has been going on with our finances for at least since 69, 70, 1970. Why do I say that? Because I shared a story about how I was caught up in one of what I feel is one of those setups to get the government to give money for such a wonderful cause. The Girl Scouts would get Hispanic females and we put them in these little programs and blah, 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 blah. All a lie. It was all based on a lie. So, at least since 1970, in terms of my own experiences. Okay, but we're looking really good. We're supposed to have chaos. Well, we do have chaos on the physical dimension. You could see that. And there's chaos having to do with people being insecure because they don't know if they're going to have a job, or they don't know how bills are going to be paid, or they don't know what Trump is going to do next. Okay, nobody said it was going to be a free ride or easy. Revelations was never going to be easy. And because I believe in reincarnation, I want to remind you that before you incarnated, you determined that you wanted to be born at this time to help out. So you go, I don't believe in reincarnation. Great. So why were you born? Well, I don't know. See, you don't have an answer, but you won't look at the answer that every other culture, civilization understands, which is the soul reincarnates. There's serial lifetimes. Don't believe in it and continue with all those question marks. But now let's go to the happening. That's the big news today, which is that the Pope died. Okay, the Pope died. What was said about that? Nostradamus supposedly said this would be the last Pope. Well, that's not possible. How can that be? Well, I'll tell you how it can be. We're in Revelations. One of the things that is being revealed and is not talked about is the Catholic Church participation in sex trafficking as a very organized movement. And the one that I'm the most familiar with is Operation Peter Pan. Oh, how cute a Mickey Mouse character, Peter Pan. Operation Peter Pan was a very large 15,000 children sex trafficking operation that was run by the Vatican, and the CIA. Look it up. It's in the internet. That's how many people know about it. That information, if you really wanted to know, that information is so easy to find. Okay? Operation Peter Pan, CIA, Vatican, put it in Google, and I'm sure it's still there because it was all over the place, besides which I was there. I was here in Miami, which this was the center of it. What does that have to do with the Pope dying? Well, it kind of makes sense to me that we are in Revelations and all darkness is coming out according to the images and the Mayans, then the darkness of the Catholic Church is out, and it's definitely, I don't know about that Epstein list. I'm not sure that it isn't something that's going to pull the rug out from under the Catholic Church also. Not sure. So, would you want to be the next Pope holding the bag when all of that stuff comes out, which will be, I think, in the next several weeks? Would you want to be the next Pope? Or maybe you want to be the next Pope and you think that you can still pull the wool over people's eyes because you did not really integrate the information about Revelations, which is in the Bible. Give me a break. It's not just in the Bible. When the Mayans, 5,000 years ago, there was no Bible. Okay? The Bible is not the center of the universe. It's very good. I quote it a lot. It's not the center of the universe, and it's definitely not the center of the next cycle that the planet is going in. So you figure out what the next center of the universe is and align yourself with that really quick. Back to the Catholic Church, the Pope, and the next Pope. I think that there is going to be a lot of fighting, but I think it's going to be a huge issue. First place, USAID, if the USAID was the one that was funding that thing that I was involved in a teeny weeny bit in 1970, then they're not going to have the money to be doing the things that they've been doing up till now. What happens next? And I think that maybe we have an explanation of why it was predicted that there would be no more popes. By the way, the future's elastic and plastic. And it's one thing I admire about the Bible. It says that at the end, they can't say when the end is going to be. Why? Because it has to do with humans' emotions and human decisions. Now, what I would be concerned about, being it that we have all fallen in love with the head of Italy now, because Trump and Elon adore this woman and they should. I'm worried about Italy because it's Catholic Church, is the Vatican has been such a big part. But there is nobody that can stop planetary cycles, which is why all of you need to look at what you're doing for a living, who you're married to, where you're living, what your intentions are. Because if you are not aligned with a world where darkness is going to be revealed increasingly quickly, and where truth is what's supported, and lies, even emotional lies, will be knocked down, you'll be dragged through the mud. If you're not aligned with those things, you're going to have a very hard time. What kind of lying are we talking about? Oh, I've been happily married for 50 years. You haven't been happy for 30 years in that 50 years. Does that mean you have to put out a hit on your mate? No. Does that mean you have to move out and get a divorce? No. But if you're not willing to separate, then you need to do a heck of a lot of mantras having to do with, even though I'm miserably married, I love and accept myself, or even though I'm miserable, I love and accept myself. And you need to find a place to where you can find joy without dividing your mind to where you never think about the fact that you're poorly married. Who says you're poorly married? Your emotional reaction. Oh, I don't really know how I feel. You're not going to have a good time. Revelations means there's no place to hide any of that stuff. I'm not saying you should leave the marriage. I'm not saying you should leave your job. When it comes to your job, the mantra that I suggest, if you're not happy, which is basically 80% of the people, if not more, please God help me with my intention to create a miraculously prosperous mission. Having to do with mate, I haven't thought up a mantra. But what I'm telling you is, you grab on to the truth of what really, how you really feel about things. If you're living with your mother and you can't stand it, but you don't want to move because it's free, living with your mother, your parents, I think maybe you need to do a mantra of intention of finding a wonderful place where you can move. And wonderful would have to include that you could afford it. You need to look at all the important things around you because it is happening. And what is proof of that? This. If you look at the news, if you look at X, you go, oh my God, what a mess in the United States. Yes, it's a mess because the truth is getting revealed. And there was so much darkness and so much lying. And yet, when I sketch at the causal level, deep where there's order and structure that determines where the energy is going to go and how it's going to function, there is no chaos in the United States. There's order, there's protection, there's grounding. Can you say that about your life? Get out of there as quickly as you can and as gracefully as you can. And be, if at all possible, truthful if you're leaving people behind. But maybe they're not going to understand, at which time just do a mantra. Please God help me with my intention that it be graceful for them also. Maybe we don't need the chaos. Maybe we need to do a lot more mantras and take care of the people that we're going to leave behind, or people where we're going to expose their stuff. And maybe we don't. For a lot of us, it's just simply a question of walking away, and then the people left behind, at some point, they will get it. But the only person that needs to get it is you. You create your reality, and what you do, by the way, your kids are going to end up doing. So get it right if you really care about your kids. Pope last Pope, I think, I cannot imagine who's going to want to take over the Vatican with $0 coming in and the information about the sex trafficking being the order of the day. I don't know who would want to. Somebody who's really dumb as a rock and is into power and has not kept up with times, and somebody that doesn't believe the Bible that they use, that they throw at us, having to do with stuff that they think we should do different. Again, I don't have mixed feelings about the Bible. The Bible is a valuable document that was written for a particular season on planet Earth. It may not be applicable, not even the things that are really applicable today, such as Revelation, may not be applicable in the future. So we would need to figure that out, but we're not there today. It's okay. I want to let you know that we're in the age of transformation. We had, the age of information, Google. Oh my God. You sit at a restaurant, somebody says a word, and somebody goes, and then somebody, wait, I'll look it up. And they're so proud. Look, found it. And they're so proud. Meanwhile, they stopped all conversation because we have to wait until they find it on Google. That was the age of information. Don't do that today because we're not in the age of information anymore. We are in the age of transformation. And what I've been telling my followers for 5 years is transformation can be really ugly, 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 ugly. In the United States, it's ugly. All these people that we respected, and it turns out that they weren't doing wonderful things. They were stealing, and in a big way, and laughing all the way to the bank because the level of stealing is so high that they must have been laughing at us. So transformations can be ugly. What does that mean for you? It means you have to forgive yourself. And it means that the purification mantra, Fox purification mantra, even though I hate everyone and everything, I love and accept myself, you need to do that a lot. But you may need to shift it to whatever it is that you just remembered. I had a couple memories this last week that completely, one of them was something that I did. Oh, I'm a mind control victim. So it's not your fault. No. Still my physical body. Hello. So you have stuff coming up. You didn't remember, you remembered, but you didn't want to remember. And now you're like, oh my God. Even though I kicked my cousin, I love and accept myself. Even though I stole the money, I love and accept whatever it is. And it's okay. And I want to remind you that in most of the major religions and the very spiritual people at the deepest level, which they don't teach the public, the people that do things that are god awful are really taking on an energy that's on the planet and somebody needs to process it. And they, without knowing it consciously, sacrifice themselves, process this god awful energy, often not understanding why there's bad people and the people around them saying, but they're not really bad people. I don't get it. You don't get it? They sacrifice themselves for us. I have a few stories about that, but I cannot say them until a little bit later when maybe there's more trust in who I am. But this whole thing about darkness and bad things and bad people and good people are really stupid. They're not so loyal. Oh, yeah. I'm not talking me. I'm saying I'm stopping myself from telling interesting stories. But continuing on, transformations are ugly. So if you are transforming and everybody around you wants to kill you or thinks you're stupid or doesn't get what you're doing, why on earth are you leaving that job? You're paying your bills. What is the matter with you? You don't know if you're going to get another one. I can't take it anymore. I do suggest there that you do the mission mantra. Please, God, help me with my intention to create a miraculously prosperous mission. That way you can stay at your job a little bit longer as you have intended and have told God you want to align with your prosperous mission. Not just your mission, not just prosperity, prosperous mission. It's the only way you're really going to be happy in this cycle that we're in. What you're going to do if you pair it off with the wrong person, bite the bullet, figure out a mantra. and congratulate yourself for being willing to face the fact that it doesn't really matter that society would like for you to be married forever. It's not working. And if it's not working and you continue, what are you teaching your children? I'm not sure that I ever told my children this, but if I didn't and they listen to these chats, if you get married, you should get married because you love a person and you're attracted to them. If you're not attracted to them, please do not get married, because the difference between having somebody that's like your brother and having somebody who's going to be your mate is sex. And you should never have sex unless you're attracted to the person. It's very damaging, really damaging. So, what I would say today is, and I will say it to my grandchildren, my children are already married, whatever. You need to be attracted to the person and like the person as a person to get married. But then, if once you're in the marriage, it's not working, you need to try. This is an important commitment. And if you really tried, then you need to get out of it. Because one miserable person living a lie is really bad for the people around them and the people that come up behind, the children and the grandchildren, because that's what they learn. When we're happy, that exudes from us, that transfers to other people. When we're not happy, it transfers to other people. And guess what disease we have on the planet today that's almost like the fastest growing disease that has to do with lying? Alzheimer's. I did a study on Alzheimer's about 10 years ago. I was shocked. And because I don't have anybody close with Alzheimer's, I wasn't able to tell whether that information corresponded. But so many people that read what it is that I concluded from having studied it said that's true. People that have Alzheimer's, and that's, I think, augmenting at a rate that's incredible, are people that are nice and good people. They have something in their life they're not happy with, whether it's usually a mate or a job. It could be just a family situation. And they're not happy. And they know that they're not happy. But they don't want to upset the family. They don't want to upset the mate. They don't want to upset the family, people that they love. What they do is they put that information in a box. They box it off in their heads. They section it off so that when they're with their family, their mate, they're fine. Hey, 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 I'm here. And then when they walk out the door, they're doing something else. That part of their life that they're not happy with gets put in a vault. And then when they come back home, we open the vault, boom. So I said this to a medical doctor who actually called me one time very late at night and said, I need you to look at something. Sure, what's going on? I want you to look and see my head. I don't know. And I said, okay. What do you think you have? Give me a shortcut. He said, I think I have Alzheimer's. And I looked and I said, you do? Oh my God. I said, let me tell you what it looks like. And when I described what Alzheimer's looks like, remote viewing, he said that's what they find when they open up the brains. They do, the scientists, of somebody with Alzheimer's. So one of the ways you can get away from living a lie is through Alzheimer's. And it's supposed to be, used to be, and I don't know if that's because I dropped that. So I don't know what the statistics are today. It used to be like something that was going to take over a significant portion of the population of planet Earth. So if you're okay with Alzheimer's, well, you can continue living a lie. You need to know it's a lie. You need to know that that lie is not supported in this cycle, in Revelations or after Revelations. So you need to do something. Now, you don't know what to do? Not a problem. Do this mantra. Please, God, help me with my intention to create a miraculous solution to my unhappiness. The miraculous solution might be your mate saying to you, you know what? I'm not happy. It could be your mate saying, you know what? Maybe it's a good idea that you go ahead and move to that other country, but I don't really want to do it. I'll stay here. Don't worry about it. I'll stay here. Or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I don't need to know, and you don't either. You just have to intend that you get that change that you need. What change? I don't know. You don't need to know it. How's it going to happen? You don't need to know that either. You just have to have the intention. Do you have the guts to have the intention? Or do you want to continue with the illusion that you're happy where you're at? You're not going to be supported. Not going to be supported. Your ending is not going to be great. Not going to be supported. So, truth is really important. It's funny because I have two females that I know that when they've introduced me to people in the past, that was when I used to be able to have contact with people and go to parties and meet people. Um, they would say, the person would say, "Oh, she's a psychic." And then they would say, both of them said almost the identical words and they didn't hear each other say it. They would say, "Yeah, but don't ask Frances a question that you're not willing to listen to the answer to because she's really going to answer the question." And it's true. And that has created a lot of issues for me, social issues you can well imagine. But it turns out that I was doing them a favor. We just didn't know it at that time. I just knew it was my addiction to truth and my addiction to continuing a protocol that I knew worked. But maybe I was doing them a big favor by giving them a piece of information that they might remember later on, even though they did not like me. I remember I did that once. I had a friend of mine who can be a little bit naive, and he introduced me to somebody that was a big deal at a TV station, Univision, a really big deal. And he said, "Ask her a question." So the guy, an executive, asked me how the people felt about him. And I said, "They don't like you. They think you're very arrogant." Turned out he was a Leo, which they can be arrogant. And he went like this, and he went, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." He didn't want to look at my face after that. Forget that party and that barbecue. He didn't want to see me then, and I ran into him in many other things, and he did not want to look at my face. But he did say, "That makes sense," and it did make it was accurate. It matches astrological. And what I tell people today is, you know what, this is not, don't use me as a party favor. Don't ask me these kind of questions. It's not appropriate because I'm going to say the truth. Another person asked me, this person said, "I really want to get ahead at my job, but I don't, what am I doing wrong? Because I really am a good worker." And I said, "You want me to look and see why they're not giving you the raise or the better position?" Yeah, really. You really want this? Yes. There was nobody else around. Thank God. So I said, your bosses and your coworkers think that you're a hypocrite and you work extremely hard, but they're aware that you're positioning yourself. And I think they and you are aware that once you get that position, you're not going to be working that hard. You're just doing all of that to get the position, not because you really love what you're doing. I said, so I think maybe you need to let go of your wanting to achieve and wanting that position, and then just try to do your job well. I mean, because they know this. And she said, "You're right." Did not look at my face after that. That put a big dent on my social life having to do with that group of people. Why did she ask the question? Because she didn't understand the level at which I was going to get to. And yet, if she had been intelligent, or maybe she did do it, I have no way of knowing, she would have gone, "Okay, it's true. I'm just climbing the ladder of success, and I guess I'm doing it a little bit too openly, or maybe I need to adjust something." Maybe she would have become, I think what she did probably was just get very angry at me. The truth can set you free. And if there is no time, I'm going to go back to this. I get people say, "Oh my God, my whole life is ending. Everything is terrible. Everybody's angry at me." And I sketch them and I go, "You're looking great." And they go, "Frances, you didn't listen to me." And I say, "I don't need to listen to you. I need to sketch you and tell you what's coming up for you. And what's coming up for you is tremendous stability. You're looking great. Yeah, but now I said, this is stuff that's working its way out and through. So this is great. And should I bother to sketch the Vatican? You know what? It may be inappropriate that the day that the Pope died, that I look at the Vatican's reaction. But being that they have a hand in everything across the world, because they have schools in all the major cities where they teach and control and train the men and the females that are going to be the leaders of those countries that they have the schools in, which is practically all of the big countries. I'm going to say it. So let me look at it. Well, all there is anger, 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 explosions, 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 explosions. And then there is a movement of hysteria of people, core people in the Vatican that would never want to be Pope. They're behind the scenes and they're trying to figure, oh my God, I have this thing. They're trying to figure out how the hell they're going to hide all that stuff that's in their libraries. How are they going to explain to the world that they had the answers to so many things, including the pyramids in Egypt? How are they going to explain it? How are they going to hide this? They're literally considering, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but there are people within the Vatican that are considering burning down their library because it's going to make them look so god awful. What is it? Sharing is caring? No sharing. No, 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 no. I have spoken for 32 minutes and I wasn't going to even do this today. Okay. My handler supposedly went to jail and got released and is still hanging out, circling me. So if anybody's listening that can do anything about that, that would be a really, really good thing because he is a very sick man, to say the least. He is very angry at me. And I am the person that he would like to ride my vehicle, physical, to be able to continue to function. Not a good thing. They call that a possession. And another piece of gossip, and then I'm finished. Decades ago, I went to a conference on intuition. I don't remember the name of the conference, but they stopped giving conferences after a while. And I was sitting in one of the events next to a man. And at that point, I was still in a state of shock because I was still doing a lot of therapy and memory work. And oh my God, what the hell is this? I didn't remember that. And everybody introduced themselves, everybody that was in that line of that row of seats. And he was the head of the Division of Psychological Warfare from the Army before. Right after this, he was an older man. That's the division that ran the mind control program I was in Germany, continuation of the Nazi one. I was sitting next to him. Do you know what his job was at that point? He was in Hollywood funding movies. So the guy that was the head of the Division of Psychological Warfare, which was the guy that supervised the mind control program, this would have been the year 2000. He was in Hollywood funding movies. But he was not, as a person, not as representing the army. But we know what happened to the movies. Okay. Yes, the Da Vinci Code movie. The Da Vinci movie was something that people, just like Star Wars, people instinctively were like attracted to it because there's truth there. Let's go ahead and do a mantra for a few minutes. And the mantra, let's do the prosperous mission one. I think we're going to need to do a lot of mantras soon having to do with the economy. I would like for that not to be true. I would like for, remember, the future is elastic and plastic. So even if I make a mistake, I didn't make a mistake. The future is elastic and plastic, huh? Maybe it's my worry. I'm a Cancer and I worry. Okay, so let's do that mantra. Right now, you're to grade yourself from 1 to 10. 1, you feel god awful. 10, you feel great. Think about your job, maybe. Let me show you the dress so that you can see how it looks, and then afterwards I'll show it again. Okay? There we go. And now let me get... Okay. There's the mantra. And let's get the music. We're going to do the one that has the crystals in the cave. Okay? Nope. Wrong one. Okay. Okay. How do you feel from 1 to 10? How do you feel and how does the dress look? Looks really good. A lot more, I see a lot more pink veneer over it. Okay, so I have one last statement to make. If I was Giorgia Meloni, is that her name? The Prime Minister or President of Italy? A very favored person in the United States today, and I think with good reason. If I were her, I would ensure that all of the fire stations that are around the Vatican are totally operational, that not happen the way it happened in California, where they found out that they had defunded the fire stations and they had hired people that were not adequate. Giorgio, make sure the fire stations, I'm telling you, I'm seeing there's so much anger in the Vatican. There are people standing in front of the doors to the library, like barricading the doors. I think that there are people in the Vatican that want to take out valuable books and save them. I think that there is a desire. It's like if you stole something and it's safe at home, it's not a problem. But you know the police are coming to your door, and if they find that thing that you stole in your home, you're going to jail. This is knowledge that was withheld that could have helped civilization. And I think there are a lot of people in power and that want to stay in power in the Vatican that would like for that to disappear. Because if regular people go into that library, the entire planet is going to be very upset. So get those fire stations, and this is not a joke. I'm not saying this as a joke. Get those fire stations primed, make sure they're fully staffed, that there is no issue if there is a problem, and have a plan. What should the plan be? My thought would be you have a plan of people that understand the map of the Vatican, and then if there's some real big shenanigans going on, that they know exactly where that library is, and they figure out beforehand how to defend it. This is not a joke. There's a saying in Spanish, guerra avisada no mata soldado. When you let people know there's going to be a war, there's not going to be any dead soldiers. Prevent it. We are in very interesting times. Okay? Faulty electricity, faulty wiring, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, they know that they have been caught and they want to burn the evidence. Do they all want to burn the evidence? No. But the people that know and that are in control, there's no way they can just take some books home. It's too much. Hopefully, people that can make a difference are paying attention. See you again. Thank you for joining me.